I can smash her.
Alrighty boys, welcome back to another video. Now today's video I wanted to share with you guys a couple clips that I got on the release of Siege X. Now on the first day here we got all the way up to Emerald 5. Probably today we're going to probably go for Champ. One of the big things that I wanted to mention to you guys really quickly is that a lot of the maps for this season, they got reworked basically, or like updated I guess, for like visually. As well as they added in the fire extinguishers, as well as like these little like incendiary like pipes that you guys can shoot, and then they have like a Goyle fire effect that releases when you shoot at them. Now, I don't believe I have footage of me actually doing this during like one of these clips that I'm going to be showing you guys today, because I didn't really have anywhere that applied for it. However, one thing I will say is that in some instances they can be really useful. I just didn't really have the thought process to actually clip myself doing it. For example, right here, we're on Clubhouse, we're on the cache bomb site. We have a castle set up for lounge here. The enemy team actually has a fire extinguisher at the bottom of my staircase where they can shoot it, and it'll actually release like a cloud of smoke. And as well as that, as there being like an incendiary pipe to my left right here. Now the reason why this is important is because operators like Flores or Twitch, they can run in with their drones, and if they shoot these gadgets, it's going to limit how many places that I can actually play inside a lounge. Now in hindsight, what you could do as a defender is you could pre-shoot these out to make sure that the enemy team can't make use of them. However, during the games that I played yesterday, it didn't really seem like a lot of people knew where these fire extinguishers or these incendiary devices were located, so a lot of them just weren't really getting played like that. However, one thing I will say is that I do definitely see a world where people start learning where all of these like little smoke canisters are, incendiary devices are, and they actually start playing them, so that way they can like do specific plays, like strategic plays on the map. Like for example there, maybe if Ash shoots out that incendiary or that little smoke fire extinguisher next to my staircase right there, he's going to be able to actually walk in the lounge once my Goyle fire clears. Now in hindsight right there, the reason why I repositioned myself towards baby steps there was because I didn't want him, I didn't want to allow that Ash to make that play onto me. So that's the reason why I repositioned myself like that. Now, there is a very high chance that Ash wasn't even thinking about that. However, I do think that there is a world where he did have that play onto me. And little things like that are going to be really important for the future of Siege, in my opinion, because I feel like it's going to lead to a lot of different ways to actually take specific portions of the map, take specific space, for example. And even another thing that I wanted to bring up is like that incendiary device that's on the baby steps for bottom garage, that could technically be played from the defender's point of view as well. So you can keep that in mind as well, as like there could be a world where the defenders make use of it as well, not just the attackers. Now, one of the more recent changes that happened for this season is going to be the pick and ban system. And honestly, this pick and ban system is like kind of crazy. So every round, so when you're defending, you ban an attacker. And then when you're attacking, you ban a defender, right? So it's 3-round switch, right? So, and then in overtime, they just keep the bans that you made throughout the entire game. And so the thing that I wanted to talk about in regards to this is that right now, the meta that I'm seeing right now is that people are tending to target the hard breachers. Like, they're targeting, like, Ace, Thermite, Habana on Bank, for example, or Clubhouse. And defenders, or attackers, more specifically, are probably targeting operators like Cade, Mira, Fenrir, or maybe not Fenrir, Azami. Like, operators are, like, really crucial, you know what I mean, for, like, the overall push. And so the thing about this, though, is that I feel like there's going to be a lot of flexibility with this as well, because one of the other things that you do have the option of doing as well, and the counterpart to the meta of like banning the hard breachers, is you also have the potential of banning all of the shields. So you have the play of banning like Blackbeard, Blitz, Monty. You can ban everything, you know what I mean, right now as a defender, after like, or during your 3 rounds on defense. So that's one thing I wanted to point out. And as well as that is the Clash rework. Now, this is a clip right here where we actually had one of my teammates play Sledge, and he actually happened to catch the Clash off guard and was able to actually get a play onto him where he was able to sledgehammer Clash, and it actually knocks her back now. Right now, Clash, I wouldn't say she's like overpowered or anything like that, but she definitely can be very annoying is what I want to say, because of the shield being able to get placed down whenever you want. And a thing that I've been noticing a lot of people doing right now is they'll place their shield down to like isolate like a portion of the map. And then what they'll do is, like, if the enemy team tries to, like, Flores it or Ash Charger or whatever, a lot of the times they'll just pick it right back up so that way it doesn't get destroyed. Which makes, like, these little counters, like Sledgehammers or Gone 6, for example, where they come out, like, instantly, like, way more powerful than actually using like an operator like Flores now. Because from my perspective, before the season actually got released, I was thinking like, oh, people are just going to run Flores and they're going to get rid of the shield like that. However, the thing is that before the Flores actually gets rid of the Clash shield, you can just pick the shield back, or pick the shield back up and then just back up, and then you're good to go. You can just place it down again. It's just like, it's not really a counter like people think it is. So that's one thing I wanted to bring up. Now, one thing that I did really notice as being a good counter for Clash during the games that I played yesterday was actually the Gone 6. So a lot of the operators that have the Gone 6, like Yana, as well as using nades, like just to toss your nades, I would personally toss the nades behind the shield if possible, because a lot of people, what they do right now is they actually have a play where they, like I said earlier, you can pick up the shield and then just back up with Clash, and then that way you won't lose your shield. So I highly recommend tossing the nade behind the Clash, so that way she doesn't actually have the ability to pick it up and then back up. She has to just run away, because otherwise she's going to take that damage to the nade and just die immediately. The other counter that I can think of off the top of my head would be Kali, as well as the Zofia as well could be a good counter, because of the fact that obviously with Kali you're going to be able to knock the shield back, so she won't actually be able to play right in front of you directly, because you're going to be able to use your sniper to just knock her shield back consecutively for your teammates, so that way you can swing with your teammates with the Clash. And as well as if she puts her shield down, you have the Kali like little lance ability where you can shoot your lance out to get rid of the shield if it's just like sitting idly, for example. And then Zofia, you obviously have the impacts that you're going to be able to use to get rid of it in that regard as well. Now, one of the other major things that I noticed was that with the ability to get rid of a lot of the hard breachers, you're also opening up the play for people to play shields, right? They're able to play the Blackbeard, they're able to play the Blitz, they're able to play the Monty if you're going to be banning hard breachers for your game. So I do feel like probably the best bet would be to set up a play where you ban like a mixture of the two when you're on defense. So like, for example, if you're playing a map where Ace or Thermite is not as good, you could ban either or, and then you could probably go back to banning shields like usual. The other thing that I do really quickly want to bring up is the option to ban people's like main operators. That's something that's been happening a lot to me so far this season, where people have been banning my main, which is obviously Ace. And as you guys know, in regards to Ace, I actually have over 9,000 rounds played with Ace alone. So when someone bans one of my main operators like that, naturally I'm going to have to find ways to counteract that. And that's when playing like Thermite's really important. But what happens when they ban my Thermite? Then you have to start getting very creative at that point. Now, one of the things that I've been doing recently that I feel like a lot of you guys could also be doing is that instead of playing a hard breacher like Thermite Ace when it gets banned, or like Habana, is you could actually go and opt for an operator like Grim, for example, or somebody that has like hard breach charges basically. And the reason why you would go for that is because then you get very powerful utility. Something that I've been noticing a lot of people doing this season so far is that they'll ban the hard breaches like Habana, Thermite, Ace, right? And then they'll go for like a bunker setup where they just sit in sight and they just like, they're basically like asking you like, okay, what are you gonna do, right? What are you gonna do? How are you gonna beat us now? Because we banned your hard breachers. How are you gonna get your push going, right? That's something a lot of people have been doing this season so far. So what I'd recommend for you guys is to find a way to still get the walls open with an operator like Grim, with Ying, and then punish them. And what I mean by that is the idea is that if they're going to go for a bunker setup, that means that you're going to essentially be able to clear the whole map for free, which means operators like for roam clear, like you would normally play, like Dokkaebi, maybe you're going to play Jackal. I know Jackal got nerfed into oblivion this season, but you know what I mean? You could chalk those operators, and then you can opt for operators that suffocate the bomb site, where, like, if the enemy team opts for, like, a very bunker-heavy position, maybe you go for the idea where you go for, like, Grim, you go for Ying, you use those operators to create space inside a site, and since the enemy team is all inside a site, what you're going to be able to end up doing is you even have, like, plays where you could run, like, Nomad, gridlock, stuff like that, and then you could just toss those utility into the bomb site and just basically like keep like cutting off pieces of the bomb site with this really strong, powerful utility. And basically what's going to end up happening is the enemy team's not going to have a way of countering you if they're just opting for just pure bunker, 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 bunkered and nothing else, you know what I mean? Like, notice in this clip, for example, this is exactly what actually happened during this game for this ranked match here. We were playing a stack where they got all of backside, they got all of, well, they didn't get all of study, but they had someone out on the study balcony, and long story short, they were suffocating the bomb site with the Flores, with the Ram, and they were opting to just try to suffocate our bomb site by taking all of the space very early on in the round, which actually leads to these weird positions where now what I have to do is I have to swing aggressively to try to win these positions. So I kill the Flores off rip. There's going to be a guy that's going to walk up my main stairs here. Now these guys unfortunately were not able to execute their push properly. However, since they weren't able to execute their push properly, that opened up the play for me to actually make a play and rotate out of sight. However, I do feel like there's a world where if you are playing against a better team, they just kill me immediately when I go out for like my hero play right there, where I swing out into study to kill study people, and then I swing out to aviator door to kill red stairs people, and then I swing out again towards main stairs to kill a guy for main stairs. You know what I mean? There's gonna be teams that are gonna like punish me for those type of plays, because what ended up happening during that last clip, during that game, is we banned the ace, we banned the thermite, which means that they don't no longer have a play where they can open up like vault. They can't open up study. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that we can just bunker into the bomb site now, because what ends up happening is that if we opt to just bunker setup, what's going to end up happening is that the enemy team has plays where they are able to just now just get rid of, like, for example, even in this clip, they Ash charge out my mirrors that I had for study to try to counter their study push. They Ash charge those out right away. Luckily, during this clip, I'm going to go ahead and wallbang this guy for the study window. However, that guy that was on study window didn't even have to peek, guys. He didn't even have to peek. He just had to sit there the entire round, and it was basically, like, kind of GG's for us, because if we're not able to rotate into study, what ends up happening is that the enemy team now has a play where, since we're just all bunkered inside of the bomb site, they can just use operators like Grim, they can use Ying, they can flash us out. So all they need to do is just have one guy walk into default while a bunch of Yings and Grims are going out, and it's pretty much GG's on the spot, I'm going to be honest with you guys. However, what's going to end up happening here is, since that guy did sell his body for the study window, this opens up a play for one of my teammates where he's like, okay, now since we killed that study guy, I'm going to go retake study, and this is actually going to open up the position for us again, just like last round, where we're able to just play inside a study and kill off their red stairs people, their aviator door people, and then what's going to end up happening is that, for context, the enemy team is going to have to make a play where they're going to have to go and retake study. However, it's going to be a little bit too late for them, because since we are able to kill that Ash so early on in the round, they're not going to be able to really realistically have a way to beat us once we already do the damage to the red stairs. You're going to see right here, the alibi swings that red door and gets 2 picks for free. And then what's going to end up happening here is the flank for the study push does come out. However, it's a little bit too late now, because it turns into a 2v2 position here, 3v2 position. The enemy team is going to try to walk into sight. I'm going to go ahead and pick off one. They're going to try to punish this revive right here, but I'm going to go ahead and kill the last two guys right there to secure the round. But hopefully this guide help you guys out for Siege X, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!